Welcome to the channel. This is the car we're going to be showing you from start to finish on a SN95 99 to 04 Ford Mustang donor car. As for the frame, all the frame's pretty solid on this one on the front. Most of them are rotted out right in here, but this one's real nice. But this right here, this is going to be the part 1 video for the 67 Eleanor build on this project here. Everything's real nice, everything's shined up. Pretty solid too. You look inside. All the rails, everything's real nice and solid all along the frame rails on the front. It's grounded all the floor pan loose. And then all this right here be, of course, patched and shaved in. All the firewall be replaced all along, all the way to transmission tunnel the other side. And there's the roof rail right here, which will have to be cut along this. There's all the rear. Engine, transmission, rear end, fuel lines, brake lines, fuel tank, all the interior of the dash out of this car into the 67 Ford Mustang. And I'm just going to kind of walk the camera around and kind of show you the progress on it so far. Alright, as we go up here, we're going to look at the firewall. You can see all those areas that's been cut out for like the Hydro Boost braking, and over there for where the heater core and the mounts for where the airbox comes through. Go around this side over here, you can kind of see a little bit better from the inside. Now the sections there for the seats, all those perches and mounts will have to come out to go in the other floor pan. And this is kind of just showing you kind of the before any of that was cut out of this donor vehicle. Because this car right here was wrecked in the front end on that one wheel. But the rear end, all the front end set up like the power, steering assist and everything's going to be in this car. It's got the fuel tank out of the other car, the 9904, custom brackets made for that fuel tank to fit into this car, and it looked factory. And you can see in there, this is just the before of it, and how well it kind of fits in there before that trunk riser is put in there. But all the fuel lines, everything are sitting in there where they need to be. The transmission tunnel has been raised to accommodate where the dash needs to mount, and the dash is sitting in there. It's been cut down so that 9904 dash will fit into this car. And where all those fuse panels go, all that's been cut out. Everything's been made to where it'll fit along with those wipers, which was a little bit tricky on this one. But that's where the mount is to get that wiper motor to fit in behind that dash. So, you know, you have wipers, because a lot of people don't put the wipers on. They just shave them and let them be. But, you know, if you're in the rain, you're going to need them wipers to be working. So that's just the air box, the return for the defrost, and the defrost to be coming through the 94 style clock. It'll be on the back side, so it'll have little hole vents for that. So going here, you see the transmission tunnel. It's been raised in the floor. It's got the e-brake mount and everything cut out of the other car. So that's definitely something you need. It all needs to look factory, just like the 9904. Going around the front, you can kind of see the Mustang 2's all welded in there and boxed in. All the fuel lines, the evap, all the brake lines, everything's kind of somewhat ran where it needs to be. You can see under the car, under those torque boxes where the lines are ran and where that transmission tunnel had to be raised. And there's the front Mustang 2 setup for the rack and pinion. Custom mounts there for that 4.6. Custom mounts made for the radiator there. Everything fit perfect underneath that hood. You basically lower down a little bit more so that it would fit. Of course, windshield washer fluid. The size of the shock tires been cut down. Those have been handmade. Those were not bought or purchased online. Those are all handmade. And X mark just for strength on the brake. You can see right there where the reservoir comes through. And the hood hinges had to be cut down and made, custom made so that they would fit between that booster, because that booster sits so close. But there you get that shot of that firewall, everything cut in for the heater core and everything to come through the firewall. And there you have your front end, the nose. You've got the side skirts fender flares, everything are kind of mocked up into place where they need to go. And we'll get a look at this side here at the motor. Everything's sitting in there. Of course, while it's sitting on the floor, it's all got to be kind of tore down, new timing chain, guide seals, everything put in the motor before it goes back in there, and of course cleaned up as well. And going on the other side, you can kind of get a little bit of a look at that dash and where it's welded in. We're just going to walk around the front here, and that's pretty much all there is to this video. Just kind of, walking around the car, kind of get a little bit of a look at it on distance. There's the original 9904 car, and then the 67 car, that's the somewhat base body swap in a way. Not exactly like the 5.0 Coyote body swap that I've been working on here, but just a little bit of a good walk around for people that's looking at this SN95 style swap for the dash, floor pan, rear fuel tank system, and everything to fit like it should. But everything else is E-style. Now you can see all the wiring. Now all this wiring, the hydro boost braking system, analog system, of course, your tank for your air conditioning and everything, rear heat shields, everything from the 9904 car is put into this car and put exactly where it's supposed to be. Of course, the battery, that's just to check everything, all the electronics, make sure everything's working like it should, make sure everything's plugged up. The combi meter or gauge cluster, as you may know it, all the turn signals, getting everything run, wired, and put away where it needs to be so that it looks clean when it's all finalized and put together. Everything for, of course, the wiper motor to be ran, get the throw on the links correct for the wipers so that they don't overpass or the A-pillar. And that's just kind of showing how close everything is. It's very hard on the wipers to get all that set just like it needs to be and for that dash to sit, because the dash has to be cut down and then getting that defroster where it needs to be and to be hidden but still work, because you do need a defrost if you're going to plan on driving a car every day, which I'm sure whoever gets this car is not going to be planning to drive it every day. But you can see the throw on those wipers, all that's hand built and works pretty well, just like it should from the factory. It may not look like much, but there's a lot there that you don't really see. So all the wiring for the dash, of course, that's all in there in the metal frame. All the vents and everything's ran to where it should run. Everything to the dash point, to the firewall, to the fuse system there, all that's pretty much where it should be before finalizing and clean up. Okay, shut the door, go around the back here. Okay, now you can see in the back, you've got all this stuff. You got to find grounds. That's why you see that piece clamped there. Ground wires, what needs to be grounded, what doesn't, and what can you eliminate, what you got to have plugged up. Of course, safety first there with seat belts. You've got the airbag trigger in the belt that locks the seat belts. All that stuff's got to be wired up, or else you get those lights on the dash. So all that's got to be ran through and tracked down for it all to work right. That's basically what all this is just tracking wires, getting everything put into place for you, put the push pins in, run them up the inner fender liner. Of course, this car will get inner fenders, so you will not see any of this up underneath the fender. All that'll be protected, so no issue. It'll all be painted, cleaned up, and an inner fender liner put in. So that's pretty much it. There you have it on this section. Real clean, real nice, everything jammed out. Just getting all the wires where they need to be. And here's the other car. Everything's stripped down and all transferred over. Okay, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy these videos. Now looking at these brakes, these brake kit here, this is for the Mustang 2, but it still had to have a little bracket on the back of this caliper made for these brakes to set right to where they needed to be, and to get that ABS sensor put on there, because it has to have that ABS sensor on the front as well, because you don't want no lights coming on the dash. And here's best you can kind of see it there in the back. It's kind of hard to see, but it's on there. It needed it, and it's on there. So there you have the front, drilled slotted rotors, everything kind of cleaned up and ran before final fitment, kind of just roughed in where it needs to go. You can see how clean it looks. And we'll go around the top. You see the engine is finally sitting in there in place. All the wires is ran. for the most part, what they need to do to basically get it to where it'll crank. Mass air, crank sensors, starter, all those wires are ran. It's just a few little odds and ends like the fans, headlights, taillights, things like that. But you can see everything's cleaned up where it needs to be under the hood. Around the top where the radiator is, everything's clean, everything's ran basically exactly like it was on the 99 to 04. Of course, the last time you saw that engine, it looked filthy. Now everything is real nice, cleaned up, painted, exactly how it should be on a fully built brand new car. Now we'll go around, you can see that steering column's in, e-brake is in now, common meter, of course, all wired in where the car will crank now under its own power. With that engine in, you can see where the transmission sticks up through there over the floor. That's exactly where it should be, easy from where the driver sits. Of course, the battery had to be relocated to the back. All those wires have been ran, and of course, with the fold-down seats, you can easily access that battery. Now looking in here, it's cleaned up a little bit more. All the grounds are set where they need to be. Still got to put the fuel filler neck there on the side of the car where it needs to be. Rear disc brakes, new leaf spring setup, everything's in the backs is all brand new. Of course, you can see the tank, all that from before, from the custom bracket that was made there. And everything under the car is clean. None of the exhaust is routed yet, but that'll be in the next video. Let's go ahead and shut the door. We'll go around the front. We'll go ahead and do a first crank to kind of show you and let you hear it run just with a little bit of fuel down in there in the intake. And off the primer. This right here is the G2 Feather Feel polyester primer. It's on there. It's several coats on there thick. Basically, just get it blocked down before paint. The next portion of this video, you're going to see this sucker in paint, and it looks slick. So this is just kind of walking around. You can see the trunk, how it's got that riser built in the bottom. Of course, all the joints are seam sealed all around the drip rails. So everything's just kind of full final fit finish, getting everything lined up where it needs to be before taping everything off and getting some color on it. The DuPont Pepper Gray. Just kind of walk around, of course, keeping dust out of the interior and out of the trunk section where that custom trunk section's built. And then going around to the front here on the cowl panel section, all that's been welded in and smooth. Of course, no air is going to be needed to come in through there for the vents because all that's been changed with the new dash. So now let's see this car with a little bit of color on it. And here it is. It's all colored in. Got the taillights in there, all the trim. And going to the interior, you can see the dash is in. One of the seats is in just for comfort to get it cranked, check everything. Console's in, emergency brake, all that's lined up. Now, this is not a 9904 dash. It's the older body dash just for that right there to be put in the car. That little upper clock, that's not a clock anymore. That's now a defrost vent. It's got the side panels where the dash had to be cut down, color matched to match the car when you open the door. All the wires there run down, all run to the back course for the fuel lines, for the fuel pump and everything to run, the grounds, everything like that, the power seats. The risers came in there for the seats off the original 9904 car. They're welded in place. The one for the back still has to be welded in, so it's not in there in this video just yet, but it'll be in here in a minute. Glass is in, trim's in. Hood, of course, is on. It's got the stripes that run up the hood and on the inside there, so that, if you got the hood open, it'll show it. Makes it look a little bit better there when you the hood open. Of course, it's easier to go around the driver's side, kind of see where the car's going from here. That's a cloth seat, but that cloth seat is not staying in it. It's going to have all leather interior. Now going to the back, you got the custom tips. You got the trunk riser that you can kind of give it a little idea of what it's going to look like in the trunk with that riser in there. And it's just kind of a little bit of a walk around and showing you with the color. So nothing major. Got grills in. It's got the headlights, fog lights, turn signals. The ambers is in it. And this is the car that it started out as. And this is the one that was a donor car. It was wrecked in the front on that front passenger wheel, but it still drove. But basically it was good for nothing but just as a donor vehicle. So you can see everything that needed to be cut out: the firewall, the section for the booster, and just some small ends and airs. And the section of the seat platforms had to be cut out right along there. And the one in the back, it's got to be cut out. It's not yet cut out, but all that section's got to be pulled out of there. And of course, the tunnel had to be raised. So for the drive shaft, all that section was removed and put in the other floor pan. So let's go now to the next one. Here we are at the next video segment. Emblems are on. The car's been water sanded and buffed now. Of course, wheels are not on it yet. Still a little bit of fit and finish, getting the inner panels in underneath it. Got the grill, the fog lights, everything in are wired. There you get a shot of that stripe on the bottom of the hood. That's the fiberglass hood there. A custom panel to go up to where the coolant reservoir tank is for over the radiator. And all, of course, the windows. Side windows are still not in yet. There's custom tips, handmade. Those you can't buy. All the brakes have been bled. Everything's been cleaned underneath the car. The fuel cap's been ran where it needed to over there to that passenger side. And going to the inside and get a little bit cleaner. Of course, you can see the carpet set into place. Key is being programmed. That's that little seat riser that you saw that still had to be cut out in that previous clip. And there's the panel that had to be made to cover up those, what used to be cup holders. And there it fits flush just like it should along the side of the carpet. There's those inner panels for the seat. That's all custom made from the coupe version and painted to color match for the car. All the seat belts are run, all the lines. Of course, all that'll be cleaned up for final. Package tray out of the 9904, an extension to fit the fastback glass. All the headliner is in, and pretty much all the dash is pretty much finished other than getting the radio in, and vents, covers, and of course kick panels there. And still putting the holes in to fully mount the seats. Okay, now we'll pull out of the video here for the interior. It's mostly finished, just a few little odds and ends there. Of course, the door and dome light. Now shut the door. The doors shut easy, just like they're supposed to. Walk around the back. Next portion of the video, you're going to see this car on the ground and see those wheels on the car. So let's go ahead and we'll fast forward to that. And here we are. You'll see the car's done. It's on the ground. It's got the wheels on. Now, some people will notice, some people won't, but these are not the actual E-style wheel. They're kind of a replica wheel. This is pretty much all that was available at the time. The spinners are missing on this one. This just has the caps. Now, of course, you can get the ones. More people are making the wheels, so it's easier to access those wheels. It just costs a little more since supply and demand on these cars. Hood pins are in. Pretty much everything is done at this point. So we'll just walk around it, look at the engine, all the air. Everything works on it. Air, heat, interior lights. All the chrome. Drip rail still got to be put on. The little seal just right around the front seal around the sides of the glass. Just the side windows, original door panels. Nothing too crazy on the doors on this one. It's just going to be basically the factory. A few little emblems there for dressing up the interior. Still got the 6-disc CD player in it from the factory. It's got those leather seats in there now. Of course, you can open the rear seats, fold them down. You've got that access to that battery. So everything's pretty clean in the interior. Just a few little odds and ends. It's mostly done at this point. Alright, we go around to the trunk. You ain't got to worry about the key. It's got the button just like the 9904 would. Right there in the inside of the dash in the glove compartment. There you see up underneath the car trunk lid, all the carpeting inside. And down here, can't hardly see it real well. There's an access panel so that you can access the fuel pump right here to the bottom of the trunk pan. All that's carpeted. And now we'll go ahead and get this thing cranked up so you can hear it run. When the motor was pulled, the timing cover was pulled off and all the timing chains have been replaced. Motor's been cleaned up, painted along with the transmission. car is now finally fully finished. Hood pins are all in. Of course, the glass is on, mirrors on, handles, the vent window assembly, all that's in. The trim around the window there on the drip rails. Opening the door, you'll see all of it. The floor mats are in, the pedals are all on, the shifter, fully, completely finished. We'll go ahead and look at the mileage on this car. Turn the key on there. And there you have the mileage. Of course, this is a low miles car. It was really taken care of before the accident on that donor vehicle. So you have the seats there. Everything's real nice. Everything's clean. And there's your access to see the battery. You got the amps there for the Mach system. Now the trunk release is in the glove box just like it was on the factory donor vehicle. And there's the custom power window options there. The custom made little bracket for the switch. Open the trunk lid. Now you can get a little bit of a better look at that interior and that access panel to access the fuel pump. And the little side pockets there. Of course, you know, the lock for the lug nuts. We'll go around to the front, look underneath the car here and get a little bit of a quick look. Pull them hood pins off and we'll open the hood and get a clean shot of that engine bay. Here we are. That's the money shot. You got your 4.6, 5-speed transmission. Everything is pretty much modern. Take this car anywhere in the world you want to drive it. Drive it daily if you want. Of course, I'm sure it's not going to be intended for that purpose, but you don't have to sit there and worry about getting it cranked in cold weather. Turn the key, fuel pump kicks on, it'll immediately crank, take off. Plus, you're going to be driving something that not most people have as a daily driver if you decide to do so. Now going under the car, this is with it up on my lift in my shop. You can see that inner fender liner we talked about earlier in the video. The Mustang 2, the exhaust setup on the car, the heat shields, everything around. The transmission's painted. The custom bracket there, the cross member for the transmission. The O2 sensors are hooked up. Got your exhaust system running out the side of those side skirts. Your flex hose there, so no issue with that. You got your little extra coilovers, as well as the springs to help give it, for of course when you're throwing that thing through the gears, it'll hold tight in the rear and you won't have to worry about no issues with bumping.